Hi, welcome to Introduction to Curriculum. My name is Chris Wojcik and I'm one of the other faculty members and I teach another section of Introduction to Curriculum. I've just covered this content with my class in the previous week, so I'm doing this PowerPoint presentation for you this week. When you see this image of a superhero, it may bring memories to mind from when you were younger, or maybe you still enjoy the superhero movies that are in theaters, or maybe you're not familiar with superheroes. One of the things we're going to discuss is the issues that educators face on a daily basis in early learning and care environments when children become engaged in this type of play, and how do we support children who are involved in this type of play. Here's an example. Peter, Graham, and Chelsea are involved in some rough play at the other end of the yard. As you move closer, you observe that Peter, in the role of Superman, has killed Graham, who was the villain. Peter moves towards Chelsea and tells her that she is next. Example 2. 4-year-old Jules is particularly obsessed. Telling him no guns or pretend fighting just doesn't work. When he's a good guy like a Power Ranger or Spider-Man, he thinks it's okay to use whatever force is needed to suppress the bad guy. That's because that's what a superhero does. And then someone ends up getting hurt. The concerns that educators have are that someone is going to get hurt, that violence is unacceptable, and we strive for a peaceful environment. But it's very difficult to meet these types of concerns and deal with the concerns when many children are engaged in this type of play. We may tell children there's no guns at school, these types of things, but children inevitably will continue to do this type of play. One of the reasons and the things that we have to consider as an educator is what happens when children go home at night. Many children have a lot of exposure to this types of play, these types of movies, and what you're learning in Introduction to Curriculum is that play for children is a direct response to the environments that they live in. They act out their experiences. So children who mainly are exposed to this type of media, such as superhero movies, a lot of play with action figures, will include this into their play. It's just how play works. So how do we support children, and what do we do to help them move from this type of play into something a little more higher quality? So children may see violence on TV, action figures, and they may witness violence in their homes, and that is a very, very important issue to consider. So these are just some of the figures and the action figures that children see or may have. And all of these action figures are very powerful, they're very strong, and when the children are taking on these roles, they feel strong, they feel like they have some power over their environment, and this is what they're acting out. They're being the figures, they're being strong, and perhaps we as educators need to help children feel more empowered in the environment, in the environments. So that might be something that we need to consider. The media is designed to appeal to children. They spend millions of dollars in marketing research to figure out how to make these things attractive to children. Many places they'll put these types of figures right at the checkout at a store when mom or dad or whoever is doing the shopping are exhausted and the child begins to scream, "I want that superhero," and they just throw it in the basket because they're frustrated. But this is all marketing. A lot of figures are done, and these action figures are part of a larger marketing initiative that comes from a video. The child spends time playing with the figure and recreating images from the movie or from what they've experienced, but is this really play? Basically what they're doing is they're imitating what they've seen in the movies, what they've experienced, and what they find very exciting. Looking at a large superhero who's defending people and fighting is very exciting for children, and it's something that they will imitate in their play. But the thing we have to consider is this quality play? This type of play lacks creativity and imagination because the child is only imitating what they've seen in a movie, seen in cartoons, on television, and so on, and it all comes from previous experience. And this is what we know, that children's play will involve their previous experience. The play doesn't become more complicated. In the article that's posted for you to read, Superhero Play, War and Gun Play, they talk about Jules as being stuck in the play. And from his perspective, it's okay because he's doing a good thing. He's saving people from a bad guy. But this is the only type of play that he is engaged in. So we want to help children move from this narrowly scripted type of play where they only have one theme, one focus in their play, to more enriched, more quality type of play while they have these play experiences. One of the ways that we do it is by carefully observing what children are doing. This is why you have a whole class in learning about observing children. How to observe, what specifically are you looking for? We have to have a very, very good grasp of child development to understand children's play. We want to complicate that play. We want to ask them some questions that are going to make that play become a little more higher quality than just reenacting things over and over and over again. And we want to do this without disrupting their play by telling them no guns at school, no superheroes allowed, and so on. So we want to make that play more complicated, and we can do this by introducing other materials such as blocks, loose parts, which are things that become other objects, and so on. I'm going to direct you now to look at the video that's posted on Blackboard. And the video is John from the Early Learning Center, and he spent quite a lot of time with me discussing how he manages superhero play in his classroom. And he gives us a lot of really good information about why children may be engaged in this type of play. So I'm going to ask you now to go and observe that video and read the article that's posted on Blackboard, War and Superhero Play, and that will give you a really good basis for understanding superhero play.